All right, how's everybody doing? I want to go over my college football and let's go over some comments. I did copy and paste them in case they got lost. And hang on just a quick second. Also, two sports I follow, UFC and boy, look what they sell over here with sports because that's the alpha male, right? That's what the alpha male wants. He wants sports. You know, like the Flintstones hit each over the head with a club, like hence football, UFC, and I mean it's girls, cheerleaders, girls, uh, ring girl, UFC. Mm. When they do their thing, I just look away. I don't look away whenever they are fighting. Um, it's just something the Lord hasn't quite beaten out of me yet. I watch movies for research, and I just follow their narrative. I have seen a UFC fight that I know was fixed, and that was Conor McGregor versus Cowboy Cerrone. I knew it was fake going in. And then since a guy named Jorge Masvidal beat up a guy in 5 seconds, Conor had to go in there and beat up a guy within like 20 or 30 seconds to make that splash. And he was, the guy was letting him hit him with shoulder strikes. I've watched Cowboy Cerrone fight many, many times. Conor McGregor, Cowboy Cerrone, YouTube. It was the first time I'd literally seen something very fake in the UFC. Um, he literally got paid millions to go out there and let a man beat him up, and then he was promised a lot of extra fights afterwards. And so, what did I do? Click images. I'm on images, so let's go. And before we get to that, just to go over my college football theories. As y'all know, I called that it would be these four teams from the beginning: the Buckeye, the Buck, the Stag. How do I search this? Well, I've got it in my. I agree. Where's it at? It's either under Skyfall or Stag. Skyfall, when the sky's falling. That's what the James Bond movie was about. And of course, they had the buck, the stag, because it regenerates its horns. Horns fall off, grow back. It's all about regeneration. He said in the movie Skyfall that his hobby was resurrection. And so that's the buck eye. The buck will receive a deadly wound in his right eye, the Antichrist, the horn, the stag. So that's the Buckeye. That's why they're in. That's why Michigan had to fall. They have decimated Michigan's football program over the years. So they build one up and decimate the other. It's all part of their ritual. It's simulating getting rid of the sheep and building up Satan's world, the goat world. They want a world without any of God's presence. And sheep that tell the truth, we are what? We're showing God's presence. So they hate us for that. Can you blame them? No, they're handed over to it. They're spiritually handed over to it. With me, it's not personal. That's for sure. There's no animosity. That could have been me. I mean, the Lord could have made me Adolf Hitler if he wanted to. Um, that wasn't what I was chosen to do. I was chosen to die to self I've slowly watched my personal life just dwindle down. People don't want to hang out with me no more, not my personal friends. Um, and basically now we're finally down to zero, not one. So, but that's where we're at. We're at ground zero. We're just waiting on Trump to receive his deadly wound. So I've watched the Lord purge the world out of me. So anyway, where was I going? I was talking about these football teams. Um, in order for Alabama to grow, you watch Auburn become decimated to the point where they fired their coach. Now Auburn goes up and then they go down. They go up and then they go down to create that drama because they do need that Iron Bowl drama. That's part of the state of Alabama in general, which was the first state that gave this country the pagan Christ Mass in 1836. They made it a holiday. In many parts of the United States, when it was, I think, 13 states, it was outlawed. Everybody knew it was Catholic. Everybody knew it was pagan. It's the pagan tree, straight out of Jeremiah 2, Jeremiah 10, 2 through 4. Do not even learn the way of the heathen. Cut the tree from the forest of the axe, fasten it with hammers and nails that it does not move, deck it with silver and gold. Literally says those exact things in the King James. So, which is the best version we have. It's not a perfect version, but God preserved his truth through us spiritually, through his sheep. So we've proven that the crimson tide is the red blood. It showed the monolith, and welcome to the machine. The machine is the big fraternity in Alabama. And that's where all their power brokers, politicians, and so forth come from, the machine fraternity in Alabama, like Yale's Skull and Bones and so forth. Because they get these kids in college, of course. And they get tapped. And that's what you're seeing with these college football players. They get tapped because they're heading to the NFL. They will throw games on purpose, just like they do in the NFL. The NFL is staged. It's been proven. And then I proved that college football was staged. And through the Holy Spirit, of course. And I threw my video to a college football assistant coach. And that's a personal friend of mine. He texted and wished me a Merry Christmas. I told him I didn't celebrate it, but then I sent him my video and we got to talking, and he absolutely said yes. Through watching my video, he saw the film. He agreed with the film breakdown that I did, that those plays were. And by the way, when I showed the one of Patrick Surtain covering Grimes, and he turns and looks for the ball, and he's got Grimes pinned to the sideline, and he's looking up at the ball. And I said, he didn't even jump for the ball. He just let Grimes go up and catch it. He never even raised his arms up. And then he acquiesced and let Grimes, he circled around the front of Grimes and let Grimes go. I said, that's no way that's done. You're not coached in that way in any way, shape, form, or size. Did you know that Patrick Surtain, that guy I was telling you about, that got terribly burnt on that play on purpose, is AP #1 All-American. That was the best corner in college football. This one here, that's the #1 corner in all of college football. #1. And he's going to let him release. #1. He's going to turn and look for the ball. I don't know why I didn't have it blown up. Maybe I do. Maybe I'll blow it up for you. And there's his eyes. You can see that he's looking. There's my cursor, and here's my other cursor. You see the whites of his eyes. That is top corner coverage right there. He has that kid pinned against the sideline. He is between him and the ball. He would just go up and intercept it. But he doesn't. Why doesn't he? Because it's staged. He doesn't even go over. He just says, "You take it, Grimes. Go ahead." Sorry, I'm running my mouth, obviously, in the video. There he goes. Doesn't even go up for it. He just goes, "Whoops." Folks, the number one corner in the nation does not. I'm telling you, a true freshman straight out of high school. I will say it once again. I could have covered him better than that, and I'm 59 and a half years old. He just let him go. So now that you know that it's staged, you got the Buckeye, you've got the crimson blood of the sheep and the bloodshed during World War III. Remember, they held up the monolith with the crimson blood. That's the crimson tide, the tide of the blood. They literally show it in Welcome to the Machine as ocean waves. That's the red tide, the crimson tide. There it is. And before that, they were showing people's heads getting lopped off, which is exactly in Revelation 24 what happens to the sheep. Then, of course, there's their monolith. And of course, we've shown you that Trump Tower is a monolith, and Trump Tower in well, that was all about 2001: A Space Odyssey, which 2001 was when the two Trumps went down. Trump Tower, Istanbul, Turkey, black cube. It's got a black cube at the top, but it is a monolith, just like the monolith in 2001: A Space Odyssey. And it's got the black cube at the top. Their world symbolism. Trump Tower 216. Well, 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. So look at the time they have on there. That's not by accident. So, you know, anyway. Then you see the upside down pyramid of 6 by 6 by 6 bushes. There's no bushes on it now. Trump Tower, upside down pyramid, 6 by 6 by 6 bushes. There it is. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Upside down pyramid is the divine feminine. That's why he sits with that upside down pyramid in his hands. Why everybody on TV will give you the yoni or the pyramid in an upside down manner, because it's all about the divine feminine. Sophia, Lucy, Lucifer, Venus, Lucifer, Gaia, Inanna, which in their world is Mary in the Catholic Church, so on and so forth. So you've got the Crimson Tide, you've got the Buckeye, you've got Notre Dame, the four horses of the apocalypse, and then you've got Clemson, which is purple and orange. Orange comes to 33, their number, which is Trump's favorite color. Easy Google research, done it millions of times here for you. But purple is the color of Mystery Babylon, purple and scarlet. And our friend Jamie said Clemson, clemency, you know. So Jamie looks at a lot of things very deeply, like I do, and like Michael does. And sometimes they could be a coincidence, and sometimes, you know, sometimes we're looking too far into it, but sometimes we're nailing it. And Jamie comes up with a lot of things that she sees in movies and Bible verses, and she goes back to the Old Testament, relates things to the Old Testament, which is really amazing, the way she can bring that stuff up. And we're going to go over Michael's Gematria in just a second. I wish I would have kept all of Michael's stuff somehow. They're all in the comments of all these videos, but I wish I would have charted it better. I would love to go back and keep up with it because it's so much. And so purple and orange their two big colors. That's Clemson. And what they've done is they've thrown all the money there and recruited all the great kids there at these schools and built these schools up. And Notre Dame's always been built up. They've had their own college football network. NBC, they own NBC is the Notre Dame Football Network. And Notre Dame means Our Lady, Our Mother, talking about Mary, talking about Lucifer. So, and of course, the common person has no idea. Notre Dame means Our Lady. It's Our Lady. It's Venus. It's Lucifer. It's Mary. We all know as sheep, you do not pray to a human being. And of course, Jesus's mother was Mary. To the point, Jesus, your mother and your brothers are outside to see you. My mothers and my brothers are those that do the will of the Lord. So that was in Matthew 12. Yes. I like Matthew's version better, I think. So we go to Matthew 12. That's in the 40s. Just to show you who Mary is. While he talked to the people, behold, his mother and his brethren stood without, desiring to speak to him. This is his mom, wanting to speak to him. Then one of the apostles said, behold, your mother and your brothers stand. They don't, they're without you. They're desiring to speak to you. And he said, who is my mother? This is all written so Mary is put in her proper place. And what has the Catholic Church done? Exalted her to the Queen of Heaven, Queen of the Universe. Mary, Queen of the Universe Church, Orlando. Well, Orlando didn't take in the search, but it popped up for us, didn't it? Basilica of the National Shrine of Mary, Queen of the Universe. Well, that's what they celebrated in the Old Testament times. The Queen of Heaven, Queen of the Universe. The tree goddess, which is that's why the Pope and all of them have their midnight mass. So he stretched out his hand toward his disciples and said, behold, my mother and my brethren. For whosoever shall do the will of my Father which is in heaven, the same is my brother, my sister, my mother. I mean, you can't get any more plainer than that. If any man come to me and hate not his father, his mother, his wife, his children, his brethren, sisters, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. You can't love your own life. You will die to self. The Lord will bring you out of self. You will lose your friends and family for the truth. That's part of your tribulation. Acts 14:22, King James Version Bible Gateway. We must, through much tribulation, enter the kingdom of God. And that's how you tribulation. You tell the truth. You don't have an emotional hate for them, but you have to hate on them when they're taking part in pagan celebrations or sinful world. If your dad, you're all grown up and your dad's single and your dad says, hey, let's go out and chase girls and I'll buy you some shots, it's 2 shots, whatever. You gotta say no. You gotta hate on them. Can't be part of that world. So that's your 4 teams. I personally suspect that when the Alabama center went down against Florida and Florida staged running around acting like they were mad again at at the Alabama players. Again, this is WWE. Just like the fight was scripted that the Gators got into in one game and Mullen goes out there and gets all mad and upset, and players get ejected and so forth. Remember, when Florida lost to A&M, they didn't have their top defensive tackle playing. These coaches were removing and adding players as the season went on with COVID and this and that. And uh, Clemson sat out their top quarterback and their defensive captain, and Notre Dame barely eked out an overtime victory in the immediate narrative with 5 conferences, mid-season, 5 conferences, and only 4 spots. They immediately said, well, if Clemson wins the rematch, they'll both be in the playoff. That was the narrative. It's just like your regular news on TV, Fox or MSNBC. They're pushing a narrative, left or right for division. And that's what they were doing here. They're pushing a narrative. They're giving you the mindset. They're programming you. That's why television channels, you're channeling a demonic world. That's why your television set is a black flat screen. It is a scrying mirror. Your black screen, your television set, that black screen is a scrying mirror. And you are channeling demonic spirits, and you are being programmed. That's why you see the whole world thrown over to the Trump world or the anti-Trump world, because it is the light and the dark, just like Trump's coin. It's the light versus dark, and Trump, of course, represents the light. And on his coin, not the bat coin, it says, War of the Sons of Light against the Sons of Darkness. That's your black and white checkered floor image in their world. So, to wrap this up, I think Notre Dame, because Alabama's starting center left the game and all the players are getting their accolades with individual awards, I think Notre Dame is going to upset them. I could be wrong. I don't know what they're going to do. Alabama. Nick Saban has always represented Satan. And I showed y'all that where a college football coach cryptically referred to Nick Saban. Nick Saban is the devil himself, Tim Davis. Florida assistant Tim Davis calls Nick Saban the devil himself. So Nick is representing Satan, and with the Crimson Tide and all that. So they could be your winner this year. But there's just, I'm waiting for that upset, that comeback. Like Notre Dame is now being disrespected. And, obviously everybody knows they shouldn't be in it. It should have been Texas A&M, who lost early. They always said lose early. To make the national championship back in the BCS days, it was lose early, don't lose late. Well, now you got a 14 playoff. Well, I guess now you can get smashed in the ACC championship game, and another team gets beat pretty soundly early in the year. And everybody knows in the COVID year, people didn't have proper spring practice and such. So don't count what happened early, count what happened late. Texas A&M did great, but they had the SEC lose games. All these games were scripted, and players were dropping out and opting out and sitting out and COVID. And they're like, well, A&M's record's not any good, even though they won 7 SEC games in a row. And so they exalted Notre Dame to the top, put them in the playoff, top 4, I mean. So I'm looking for a Notre Dame upset. I look for Kyle Trask to possibly. Now, it could be number 6 win the Heisman. I don't know who's going to win the Heisman. But Heisman is he is man, and it comes to 33. And I believe it's Pythagorean Gematria. We've shown that many times. And it's he is man. Well, it's Satan is man. That's what the Antichrist is. So the He is Man award, that is given in New York City, where Donald Trump, was born and was raised to the status he was raised in. Remember, his penthouse was used in the movie The Devil's Advocate. The Heisman Trophy, He Is Man Trophy, could go to Kyle Trask, and I'll tell you why. Because in the movie The Devil's Advocate came from Gainesville, Florida. So, and I noticed in that game when I broke it down that they really made Kyle Trask look like a superstar. So I'm wondering if they don't give us that surprise upset also, with Kyle Trask becoming this amazing um, football player. So Kyle Trask is not the favorite. Vegas odds for winning the Heisman Trophy. The odds on favorite is the Alabama receiver, Devontae Smith. And his number is 6. And he plays for Alabama. I could see that too. Look at that. Minus 180. 6 plus 6 plus 6. That's 18 is another number for 666 because it's 6 plus 6 plus 6. It very well could be him. Kyle Trask is 4th down. If he somehow surprisingly wins that thing, there's your devil's advocate coming from Gainesville, Florida. So I'm just putting all this out there. I don't know who they're going to pick, but I'm just saying look for that. Come from behind if Kyle Trask ends up doing it. That's your Antichrist. He is man, the devil's advocate, coming from Gainesville, Florida, per the Devil's Advocate movie. I don't know who they're going to have win this thing. I think I would just pick Alabama. I would just pick Notre Dame because it's all scripted, because that's who gives you the 4 horses of the apocalypse. And I'll go with Kyle Trask. By the way, Notre Dame, also not the favorite to win the national championship. Vegas odds playoffs, college football. Vegas odds college football playoff.
Here is information from Boyd's Bets.
Notre Dame is the long shot. If the long shot wins in both the Heisman and you just know it's scripted. Now, the favorites could win. It could be Alabama. It's Nick Satan or the devil himself or Nick Saban, and it's whose birthday is on October 31st, and whose name, Michael brought up a lot of interesting things about his name in Gematria. So it could very well be Alabama winning the Heisman and the national championship. They fit everything. They are the machine, the ghost in the machine. But keep your eye on Notre Dame for an upset. Keep your eye on Kyle Trask for an upset. That's all I'm saying. All right. Love y'all very much.